Good evening. This is David Etten, the Channel 1 Atlanta Command Center. It is about 6:15 in the evening this Thursday evening. Thank you for joining us. We're live from Atlanta with continuing coverage now throughout the night and all night long, as much as possible and as much as we can on this very dangerous and life-threatening weather event. We're going to have the very best coverage from local and national stations and networks. And as you see there on your screen, we have ABC Tampa ready to go right there. And so let's begin with the very latest on the storm. We have winds of 125. This is the 5 p.m. advisory. It's moving to the north-northeast at 23 miles an hour, so it's picked up speed. Expected to make landfall this evening in the Big Bend area of Florida. And that pressure is very strong. This is a very strong hurricane with the pressure 28.09 inches of mercury. This is the width of this thing, the impacts 500 miles wide. This is a monster storm, being nicknamed Mean Helene. And it certainly is mean, and it's going to be devastating to Florida, especially the Panhandle, and the Southeast, especially Georgia. There could be mudslides in the Northeast Georgia mountains, 5 to 10 inches of rain in the metropolitan Atlanta area and eastern Georgia, all the way down to southwestern Georgia, including the Albany area. Tornadoes, some strong, in eastern Georgia. We've already had some tornado warnings this afternoon, and we have a tornado watch that is in effect for far eastern Georgia, and now the entire southern Georgia area until late evening. Those will likely be expanded to the north as the evening progresses. We have a hurricane warning that has been issued as far south as the southern Atlanta suburbs. This is a hurricane warning for places like Upson County and Spalding County, including the Griffin, Georgia area. That's just south of Atlanta. Again, this is now a Category 3 storm. Be making landfall in just a few hours. And the major impacts in Georgia, especially in the metropolitan Atlanta area, will be between midnight and 10 a.m. overnight, unfortunately. Winds 40 to 60 miles per hour in the metro Atlanta area, would gust to 70, especially east of the city in places like Athens. Eatonton could see wind gusts of up to 70 miles an hour. That's near hurricane force strength. This will still be a tropical storm tomorrow as it moves into eastern Tennessee in places like Knoxville. Could see some impacts of this weather, unfortunately, as well, and rain and wind in that area. So widespread power outages are likely across the state of Georgia and in Florida. So this is hitting Tampa right now with, they've had a tornado warning just to the south of Tampa within the past half hour. Let's go there now live as our coverage begins this evening here on Channel 1 Atlanta's continuing coverage of Hurricane Helene.
Category 2 to a category 4, and that's the wind difference that we're talking about. It's going to be that close at landfall because obviously there's your track, but this is still the margin of error on any given day based on the time frame. So if it's here, and we just went old school. I took a pad of paper and I looked at the dots of where they've been, and I took that pad of paper on the monitor and drew a line. And, well, I didn't draw on the monitor because I'd get in trouble. But, you know, I went in a line in my head, and I looked at it, and I'm like, all right, this is it is so close to the eye wall. That's not going to be an impact for us, obviously, but it is going to be an impact for Tallahassee, and they are just right there on the fringe. This storm for the Bay Area is going to be memorable because of the water. The wind, I mean, it's windy. We've got some power outages. That's it. I mean, I know it's scary, but overall, the threat 99% of the threat from this storm is right here. It's the water. We've been showing you pictures. We've got reporters out in the field. We had to move some of the reporters because the water was coming up so quickly in Pinellas County. So from now until 9 o'clock.
We have this just into Channel 1 Atlanta News. Hurricane Helene has just been upgraded to an unprecedented Category 4 hurricane with winds over 130 miles an hour. And we still have a couple of hours before landfall. This is a very strong and very dangerous weather situation. Storm surge up to, I wanted to mention earlier, storm surge up to 20 feet is likely along the western coast of Florida, in particular the Big Bend area. 20 feet storm surge. That's from ground level up 20 feet. That is unsurvivable. So if you haven't done so already, particularly in the Big Bend of Florida, and you live along the coast, please evacuate now. This is a life-threatening weather event.
Picked up quite a bit, and so has the water. It seems that this is a live look again from Treasure Island, and it's, you know, this, as we mentioned again and again, this is low tide. It certainly doesn't look like it, but it is. And as Dennis mentioned, in a few hours, it'll only get worse as we head into high tide after 11. This is the Howard Franklin Bridge, again, with the winds picking up and the surf obviously coming over that seawall, and it's very dangerous. So it's good that they have closed it. I'm not sure what that is on the left there. It looks like that might be an officer.
Yeah, that's an officer there. Yeah, it looks like this bridge closed around 3:40 today. Now all bridges are pretty much closed as well, including Gandy Bridge, the Courtney Campbell Causeway, the Sunshine Skyway, Sarasota, all bridges, all barrier bridges. I mean, if you're trying to get out anywhere right now, you will not be able to. I actually wanted to quickly read from the Pinellas County Emergency Management as we've been looking at all this water coming up, Wendy. They're saying emergency crews on barrier islands have now officially relocated. It is too dangerous. They have left. Emergency responders have left barrier islands, which means they won't be able to get to you as we're looking live now in Gulfport.
Right. This is a live look above the casino right there. And it's really obviously escalated over the last just hour. It looks like a river there. Debris, you can see someone walking in it, which is really not a good idea. There's obviously all kinds of snakes and bugs and fecal matter and whatever, and God knows what else. So don't walk through the flooding. We missed Governor Ron DeSantis had a press conference just a little while ago, and I did want to mention, you know, he said many things, obviously, to stay safe. One of the most important things he said, quote, from hazards like debris, down power lines and standing water, do not try to do any work in the dark tonight. State and local emergency management officials are ready to assist seniors and others, of course, in need of clearing debris.
But the rain as it picks up, we really haven't seen people just walking around Tallahassee. If they're out and about, they're trying to find gas, or they're trying to get that last little prep of some water and some ice at this point in time. I think the big concern, though, for a lot of folks here has been and will continue to be the wind and how it's a domino effect to a lot of these big trees that are around parts of Tallahassee. So the Spanish moss tree, the live oak tree, those big trees line a lot of these communities. And when those winds come through, the big concern from a lot of residents that I have heard is, will these trees come toppling down? We talked to one resident earlier. I want you to kind of hear what she had to say about prep.
Our coolers are filled with ice. We're prepared for
outages,
you know,
and people
losing
need
power.
To evacuate.
We've got our generator
it's too
in
late,
the garage.
right? They said it's already been done. It should have been done, obviously, especially at this point. Just stay off the roads so you're not bombarded, obviously, with the flooding and the winds picking up. Don't try to drive anywhere. Just shelter in place is the best thing until this hurricane passes. And by the way, that's not until midnight, 1, 2 a.m. And like Dennis was saying, it's going to be really rough and get really sketchy for a while as we head into from 8 o'clock till midnight, 1, 2 a.m.
The reason why we mentioned Manatee County is because I just sent out an email that says evacuate now. So that's kind of why we wanted to relay that message from Manatee County officials. All right, let's go ahead and get this new video from Sarasota County officials that we got. Now they say avoid Midnight Pass and Stickney Point roads because you see it right here. Fast moving water has overwashed the barrier island onto the roadway. Hurricane Helene will continue to cause these conditions to deteriorate. Wendy was just talking about this. It's going to get much worse when high tide comes later. Several feet of storm surge are forecasted. Remember, turn around, don't drive.
Yeah, we want to get to one of our reporters. I believe Robert Boyd is in Sarasota right now with the latest conditions out there. Robert, what's it look like?
Well, I'm actually in Manatee County, and as you were mentioning, the county just recently put out an alert saying shelter in place, and that's exactly what our news crew did, and we're not alone. We're here at the Legacy Hotel at IMG Academy, and about 50% of the people staying at the hotel tonight are people who evacuated. So that's good news that people are listening to the county, they're listening to the warnings, they want to stay safe, they want to get out of their neighborhoods where it's dangerous and get to higher ground, and that's what they're doing tonight. We spoke to a few people off camera who said they're not too worried, but they wanted to do everything they could to make sure they protected themselves and their families. Driving around today, we spent a lot of time in Anna Maria Island. That was flooding. That pretty much was completely evacuated. A few people stayed behind, but for the most part, people got out of that island because all the streets were flooding. And just in the last, I would say, 10 to 20 minutes, we've really seen the wind start to pick up. The rain, it's not raining at all right now, but the rain comes and goes, as Dennis has mentioned, and the wind is picked up. But again, we have to worry about that flooding because we were down there at the port and we saw the water rising and rising. So again, please be careful. You can't stress it enough. If you see standing water, turn around, don't go through it, and shelter in place, because another important part is if there is an emergency, emergency crews might not get to you. So please, shelter in place, don't go out if you don't have to. Live in Manatee County, Robert Boyd, ABC Action News.
Robert, thank you so much. I want to quickly just touch on power outages because we are seeing now tens of thousands of power outages across the Bay Area. Where Robert just was in Manatee County, as I mentioned, 22,000 without power. Just south in Sarasota County, FPL is reporting 21,000 without power. TECO in Tampa Electric, 46,000 people without power right now.
And Duke as a whole has over 63,000 folks without power. So it is, there are a lot of folks who don't have any power as we speak. If you know that they are home and they don't have power, and you can reach them by phone, let them know that we're also on the radio. Yes, so that they can still hear us, of course, on our phone. You can go to our ABC Action News app as well.
Might be a good reminder for you to go ahead and charge your devices as well, because it's only going to get a little bit worse. But thank you for joining us, because we are going to keep you as informed, and we'll be here throughout the entirety of the storm. Let's go ahead and head out to the beaches as we check in with ABC Action News reporter Jada Williams. She is live for us on Indian Rocks Beach.
And it looks like you've got some folks behind you, officers who have, looks like they've blocked off some of the road there.
Yeah, so I was just on the other side of this bridge right here. We saw a lot of these cars coming from near where the beaches are, and we decided to get on this side as well. Now, where I was, which is just on the other side, the street coming right off of Fifth Avenue was already flooded. There were a couple of people doing some very last-minute preps, putting up more sandbags and flood walls in front of their doors, and before going in and saying that this is it, they're not coming back out for that storm. In fact, I'm going to have my cameraman John to go to where I'm looking at right now. This building right here, just minutes ago, the roof came off. Parts of it are now in the road. You can see that it's kind of flapping in the wind a little bit right now. The wind is very strong and very heavy. Pieces of it are still blowing into the road right now as I'm talking. That wind is very strong. You may hear it in my live shot as well. All of the trees are whipping around. On top of that, the rain is coming down. It's not too heavy right now, but it is coming down as well. Now, I have seen people who are parking their cars nearby and they're walking across this bridge. Just like all of the other bridges in Pinellas County, you're not able to get across them, even if you live over here, but they are remaining open if you're trying to evacuate and get away from the beaches and the water if you're in any of the barrier island parts of Pinellas County. Now, as I have been out here, as I mentioned, the wind has been insane. There have been some gusts that are truly strong, but the good thing is that the gusts are kind of coming and going. It's still not safe though, as I mentioned, you know, that roof over there, it came off. You never know what could happen with one of those brief, strong bursts of wind. So it is really important that if you are out right now that you get home, or if you are at home and you're feeling stir crazy, well, it's safer to be at home and stir crazy than to be outside and about in these elements. Now, I will continue to stay here until conditions maybe get a little bit scarier, and I will move even more inland to a safer spot. But for now, reporting live, Jada Williams, ABC Action News.
All right, Jada, thank you. And yes, please stay safe out there. We want to go to Chief Meteorologist Dennis Phillips, who's standing by, I imagine, with another warning.
Yeah, well, we're now Cat 4.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
We saw it. You could see the intensification. You could tell it was happening. The eye was tightening. It's gone from a larger eye to a much more defined eye. And now we have winds of 130 miles an hour. It is moving north-northeast at 23. The pressure has dropped 3 millibars since we last checked about 15, 20 minutes ago. So unfortunately, the way this is going to play out is this is going to be strengthening right up until landfall. And that's, yes, this
is a tornado warning.
We have a tornado warning just coming in right now from the National Weather Service in Tampa Bay. It's for Manatee, Charlotte, DeSoto, and Sarasota counties until 6:45. Again, new tornado warning from Manatee, Charlotte, western DeSoto, and southeastern Sarasota counties, and west central Florida until 6:45. This is a radar indicated water spout located just offshore Punta Gorda, moving north at 65 miles an hour. Again, tornado warning from Manatee, Charlotte, DeSoto, and Sarasota counties in Florida.
a little bit, and I think we're probably talking somewhere around Taylor County. If that happens, then yes, Tallahassee will absolutely be in the path. This is the track, the official track from 5 o'clock. But again, the margin of error brings it over here. And more often than not, we see these storms with a little bit of a turn right at the end. No, not a turn directly impacting the Bay Area. Our forecast doesn't change. But if this does happen, then we're looking at a lower impact for Tallahassee than we would if this particular line was on the money. So that's kind of what we were saying, Greg and Jason and I and Shay. We were going over this morning, and you just kind of had that feeling that as it moved north, there would be a little bit of a little, not even a wobble, it's more of a veer off to the east. So again, latest update, up to Category 4, winds of 130 miles an hour. North-northeast at 23. That'll make landfall probably around 10 o'clock-ish as a Cat 4 and getting stronger right up until landfall. Guys?
Thank you, Dennis. We want to go now to Pasco County, and that's where our Julie Solomon. Okay, no, all right. We want to go to our radio partners, and there are many. We've got, I believe, 6.
Yep, you see it right here. Q105, Wild 94.1. 99.5 QIK, 98.7 The Shark, and 92.5 Maxima. This is if you lose power, you can still listen to us as all these important warnings are coming through.
That's right. We want to get to meteorologist Jason Adams, who also has some warnings for us.
Yeah, we got new tornado warnings tonight, ladies. This is in the same area we've been watching for the last several hours. Watching cells that are developing in Charlotte County, even a water spout potentially moving through Port Charlotte as it came in off of Charlotte Harbor over the last 60 minutes or so. This is now moving to the north, and we have a couple of tornado warnings. The first one is the one that's continuing from that possible tornado that came in out of the Charlotte Harbor and moving now north, right on the county line between DeSoto, Manatee, and Sarasota County line. This individual cell looks like it's got the rotation that's broadened just a little bit, but it's now more so in DeSoto County versus it being in Manatee or Sarasota County. So it's to the northwest here of Arcadia. This is right between Highway 72 and 70. You can see generally some broad rotation. We're not looking at anything as tight couplet that we don't like to see, but on radar, that would be more indicative of a potentially stronger sill or a stronger area of rotation. We're not seeing that at this point. So that's the first warning. The new warning is not into DeSoto or Hardee counties yet, but the rotation is once again coming out of Charlotte County. And it looks like it's mainly into the southern part of Charlotte County, but with these storms moving so quickly, 60, 70 miles per hour from south to north, they've already extended the warning here into DeSoto County. So let me put the warning back up on the map and show you what I'm talking about. We'll switch it back over to the radar. It's this cell.
And that's going to be the concern across the region as we move forward through the next several hours. High tide is until about midnight tonight.
Well, those winds, Ian, they've shifted even so slightly off to the south. So you're right. You're getting that offshore wind, which is going to continue to help push in that water. So eventually you're probably not even be able to sit by those dunes, and you're going to be reporting on the other side as that water keeps creeping its way in. Ian, great reporting. We're going to check in with you shortly, but I want to get back out to our Robert Ray, who is standing by in the Big Bend. Tampa has been certainly hammered all afternoon. We've almost been in this lull across the Big Bend into the Panhandle, Robert, but now these outer bands, they're starting to make their way in. And as we're starting to lose daylight, what's the feel there in Cross City?
Yeah, Jane, kudos to Ian and his team and all the other teams reporting on those conditions. And indeed, here in Cross City, about 20 miles from the Gulf of Mexico, Steinhatchee, which is a place that we were going to report in, but that surge way too dangerous. The feel here is quiet. I can tell you all these businesses and a car going by shut down at about 5 p.m. Eastern time. And look, you see behind me, the electricity is still on here. All of that will dissipate shortly as these gusty winds and rains come in here in the next couple hours. And we strategically have been looking at where we were going to plant ourselves for our coverage, and take a look at this video as to what you're seeing where the camera lens is. Lloyd Alford, who is tucked deep inside of a vehicle right now, shooting me to be protected so that the gear can be protected, and the counter twist of the rain and the winds will be hitting the front of that vehicle so that Lloyd's lens will be able to maintain the picture for everyone to see. The Fox Weather Beast is lighting me, and it is flanked onto the left side. On the right side is another vehicle. That's my vehicle. And so Lloyd and Jared Maloney, meteorologist, field producer, are in that center vehicle shooting me, and with a building behind. And so when that wind decides that it wants to come in here with the fury, hopefully that will protect us. Now, granted, when you have a Category 4 with sustained winds of 130 miles an hour like we have right now, anything goes. Unfortunately, including debris. So some of these big live oaks that are around us, I likely will not be able to stand under. I won't be standing under them. I'll come a little bit closer to the camera, but we expect power lines to go down, the trees and the Big Bend, which is notorious for beautiful trees, live oaks, Spanish oaks, and these big pine trees. We are going to have major problems here. Alrighty, about 250,000 people across the state of Florida without power, and the entire state under a state of emergency. Same with Georgia. This is just the beginning, unfortunately, as landfall is expected roughly around 11 p.m. Eastern time, and we will continue to cover this out in the elements here from Cross City, Florida. Jane?
Robert, the way that you've made sure to position yourself in a way of safety while also telling this story is so important. We're going to check back in with Robert there in Cross City, Florida, as we go throughout the duration of Helene, and we're going to be with you 24/7 following this storm. Fox Weather Radio Hurricane HQ. Helene, a Category 4 monstrous hurricane. Reminder, you can stream us free anytime at foxweather.tv for the latest information.
Yeah, we're on Texas Beach here, and the wind has really picked up earlier today.
Hello, I'm former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. A lot of times you can't control the amount of sleep that you're getting. You can't fall asleep or you're tossing and turning all night. You can't get the sleep you need to stay healthy. I know, it's scary unless you use Relaxium Sleep. Relaxium Sleep is a product that's made from natural ingredients, and it usually works from the very first night you try it. It helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed, earning your body body those quality hours of sleep that it desperately needs.
Join the hundreds of thousands of people who've experienced the relief and health benefits from getting a great night's sleep and get Relaxium sleep.
First time I took Relaxium and I slept through the night, I thought, wow, this worked for me. I could not believe it.
Relaxium Sleep is studied, tested, and designed by a neurologist to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed.
Relaxium Sleep worked from the very first night I took. I had more focus and mental clarity than I've had in years.
Relaxium is drug-free and not addictive, so you can take Relaxium every night and never worry about side effects. And the best part is, it can start working from the very first night.
When I take Relaxium Sleep, I sleep better than I have in years.
I wake up feeling like I've had the best night's sleep.
Stop being afraid and start sleeping your fears away with Relaxium Sleep. Your body and your mind will thank you.
Mike Huckabee is so confident that Relaxium will work for you, he's asked us to give away 1,000 bottles.
If you're not getting calm enough to go to sleep, take Relaxium Sleep. I promise you it'll work.
Get your risk-free bottle of Relaxium Sleep now. It's guaranteed to work or your money back. Visit tryrelaxium.com or call 800-317-6312. That's tryrelaxium.com or call 800-317-6312.
Rating still, wind, rain. How you doing out there, Mary?
Drowning in debt.
I didn't even know how I was going to buy food for my
kids.
I had over $36,000 in debt. If I would have just made the minimum payments, it would have taken me 59 years to pay off. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get out of debt myself.
I picked up the phone and called National Debt Relief. They were my savior.
Whether it's credit card, medical, or personal loan debt, National Debt Relief negotiates with your creditors to reduce the amount you owe.
National Debt Relief was able to reduce my debt by over $21,000.
From the minute I made the call to National Debt Relief, I felt immediate relief. They had a plan for me.
They treated me like a real person, not a number.
It really was a team working with me.
National Debt Relief negotiated with all of my creditors and reduced the amount that I owe, and I'm now debt-free.
If you owe more than $10,000, call or visit nationaldebtrelief.com to find out how you can become debt-free.
Right now, we really haven't seen anybody out on the road, which is
Fox Weather Alert, Hurricane Helene, now a dangerous Category 4 hurricane. The span of this incredible, with those tropical storm force winds extending out 300 miles from the storm. We have surge concerns as we look at Palmetto, Florida right now, where you can see these boats are rocking. We have our hurricane specialist Brian Norcross standing by to really break down this storm. Brian, we had that special advisory this hour that brought in Category 4 strength. The mid-level winds, flight level winds, I should say, with the hurricane hunters, definitely showing signs that this thing, as we've been explaining all afternoon, was going to continue to strengthen.
Yeah, and you can see on the satellite picture that the eye wall is forming and perhaps even contracting, waiting on that late information. And we're also now getting storm surge flooding in southwest Florida on the backside. We've been, if you've been with us all afternoon, been talking about the backside of the storm is from a west coast flood standpoint is the dangerous side of the storm. So what you're looking there in the lower left, that's Matlacha. That's actually the causeway that connects Fort Myers to Pine Island. So it's actually just beyond Fort Myers. But in any case, you can see from the south to the right, north to the left. So that's the push of the wind up from the north. So let's look at the 6 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center. And you can see, interestingly, and we'll see what this means later on when we get farther north. But look at the jog that the new center fix has taken to the right here. This could have, I mean, I shouldn't, we don't know. We don't know if it's going to jog and continue back in that direction. If it were to veer off to the right, that is a big piece of news for Tallahassee, because that little angle difference means the worst if it goes to Tallahassee or the worst if it goes to east of Tallahassee. Perry would be right in line. Madison County, Jefferson County, farther to the east. But anyway, there's no guarantee that it's not going to wobble back. So at 130-mile-an-hour hurricane, 947 pressure goes down. The lower the pressure, the more energy in the overall giant storm. All right, let's go forward here and take a look at this close up. And what we see here is the best developed eye we've seen in the storm. As it intensifies, you expect that. Look, you can see the thunderstorms wrapping all the way around. Still not exactly a donut, a little bit ragged, but it definitely is in that intensification phase. Here with the radar coming out of Tampa, we can see how much of it is wrapped around now, 2/3 or so. Wrapped around. We've been seeing segments through the day. Again, it's part of the process. But in terms of the strongest winds around the center, that's one issue, and that's very important for what happens when it makes landfall later tonight. But the size of the storm and the movement of water on the backside of it and on the front side and way out from it, that's also a huge issue, and for the whole west coast of the state, for the rest of the west coast. Look at the storm surge here, up to 3.6 feet. That's in downtown Fort Myers. There's flooding underway in Fort Myers Beach. Water is coming up quickly at Naples, now heading toward moderate flooding in Naples, in the moderate flooding range at Fort Myers. Now, let's go up the coast and look in the Tampa area. Here, water coming up at St. Petersburg, up to 3.4 feet at Clearwater. Now, this is above normal high tide, so if you just think if you were standing on Clearwater Beach at the high tide line, where you see the debris standing there, and up to about my waist, you have the 3.4 feet. That's how high the water is right now, and the tide is closer to low than high. So the tide is coming in, and the surge is coming in, and look at the way the winds are still blowing there. We still have a general south wind, so we haven't even started with the wind that we're going to get on the backside of the storm. So every expectation is, what the forecast has been, up to 8 feet around metropolitan Tampa, Tampa Bay, up in Hillsborough Bay, Old Tampa Bay. We may not get 8 feet because it looks like it won't be a peak high tide, which comes after midnight. It looks like the peak is coming midnight time frame, but certainly 6-7 feet above normal high tide is not out of the question here as this storm moves north, but the wind pushing water toward the coast increases on the backside of the storm, like is already happening in southwest Florida. So we're still looking for a landfall here in Tallahassee as a Category 4 hurricane tonight, 10, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Looks like the most likely near Tallahassee, maybe now with this little bit of a jog. We'll see. We're actually not going to get a new cone from the National Hurricane Center before landfall, so this is going to be a kind of a minute-by-minute or satellite picture by satellite picture indication on exactly where it might go. But we will get updates in terms of the hurricane hunters out there figuring out where exactly the center is. We'll get them every hour. So we'll be able to see how that line snakes north and see if that trend toward veering to toward the right side of the cone is going to continue or not. Obviously, that's important for Tallahassee. It's also important for everybody else along the coast, better or worse. The storm moves up into South Georgia, 105 miles per hour forecast near Albany in the overnight hours tonight, Friday a.m., nominally 2 a.m. There was tremendous damage in South Georgia, in Michael. In general in South Georgia, the winds gusted to 70, 80 miles per hour in general. This is sustained at 100, talking about gusts to 120-ish, something like that. So this is a whole different scale than Michael, unfortunately, and there was just tremendous damage to crops and some buildings in South Georgia. So we hope that everyone there is ready to be in a safe spot in the middle of their house, get a mattress off the bed, get ready tonight point in case you need that mattress to defend yourself if something breaks down in your house. And then passing the Atlanta area in the early morning hours, and then by tomorrow afternoon, all the way up in Tennessee. And it's going to come fast, and it's going to leave pretty fast from a wind standpoint. But when you get up into the north here, the rain is going to continue, and this could be, and is forecast to be, an epic flood, perhaps a record flood in the Blue Ridge Mountains and the higher terrain of North Georgia and the Carolinas. Then it just stalls out up there to the north. Here's the satellite. You can already see the upper level low over here driving it. Look, that's pulling the moisture all the way into the northeast already. That's what's going to drive it to the north. So the reason this scenario is so terrible is we have a hurricane here, of course. We also have an upper level storm here. So both of these things are going to work together to create this really horrible weather pattern and weather combination over the southeast. Watch the yellows. This is where we can get hurricane force gusts anywhere across the state now from the Fort Myers, West Palm Beach line north. Watch as we go through the night tonight. So here now it's up, moved into South Georgia, and you see we're going to let up the winds down here pretty quickly, but the wind direction is going to come in like this and push the water directly into Tampa Bay. So this is in the midnight time frame. So the analysis from NOAA is that about midnight plus or minus is when that maximum storm surge, where you have the tide coming in and the maximum push of wind about midnight tonight. Warning.
Side of Plant City or in downtown Lakeland, including the Polk Parkway or over toward Linder International Airport. This cell is going to be moving into your area. So let me change the radar up a little bit, get the velocity mode. I'm going to take the radar, the rain part of this out, and we're going to look at which direction the rain is moving. So basically the winds inside the cell, and see if I can pinpoint exactly where this possible tornado is. And again, it's just to the south of Willow Oak. And yeah, it looks like it's a relatively weak rotation at this point. Never discount rotation when you have one, but definitely doesn't look as strong as some of the other ones that we did see earlier today. So it's right here. Pretty rural spot to the west of 37. And again, it's right on the Hillsborough and Polk County line. We've got red and green right next to each other, but neither of these colors are a very bright red or green at this point. So relatively weak rotation is what it's showing up on the radar. I'll turn on our debris tracker to see if anything's showing up. If there were to be a tornado in progress picking up debris, you would see a blue ball kind of here right on the county line road, again west of 37. I'm not seeing that at this point, so hopefully that continues to remain the case, and that just shows that we have rotation aloft. But with the movement pretty quickly to the north at 60 miles per hour, Highway 60, and we'll start highlighting some of these roads in these towns and communities as well. So if you are familiar with any of these roads you see on your screen, Lower Meadow Road, Turner Road, Shady Hammock Road, Hickory Stream, of course East State Road 60 coming in out of Hillsborough County. I want you to pay attention to this rotation, because if it does tighten up on the radar, this could easily produce a tornado. If not a tornado, I would guarantee that you're going to get at least a 50 to 60 plus mile per hour wind gust out of these cells as they're rolling by. A little farther north, Medulla Road, Arlington River Drive, Forestwood Drive, Deerbrook Road, and this is going to stay west of 37 right along the Hillsborough and Polk County line, or maybe just to the east of it now with the new radar scan coming in. So yes, west of 37, right along County Line Road here. This is moving due north, so it won't move into Lakeland proper, at least in downtown, but on the southwest side of the Polk Parkway where it connects to I-4. Watching it for you in Plant City right here. If it stays in the Polk County side, then we're not worried about it for Plant City unless you live right on County Line Road in these areas. So tornado threat now shifting a little more to the north compared to where it's been for most of the day, which has been Sarasota, Manatee, over to Hardee and DeSoto counties. Now we're seeing it shifting a little bit more to the north with this band. This was the first band, the one that came through and it rocked us at the coast with 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. Now moving inland, weakening significantly as it's moving farther away from, of course, the center of the storm, but not weakening enough that we're still eliminating or still not seeing a tornado risk. So that's tornado risk number 2. Of course, the one we're watching down south. Let me see if this one's shown any sign of weakening over the last 10 to 15 minutes. Still looking pretty decent on radar. A little better cover confined on this cell than what we're looking at for the one up north. Brighter colors, that's what you look for to see if they're right next to each other, and if they are, you have a stronger signal that we've got a storm rotating. So this is due southeast of Highway 17, about 10 minutes before it gets into Arcadia. So if you live on the south side of Arcadia, this is the rotation right here moving north, and it's going to cross 17, and especially downtown and western half of Arcadia as we go into the next 10 to 15 minutes. There's the cell, put the radar in motion for you. Same deal, quick mover, moving from south to north at 60 miles per hour. So 5 minutes, that's all you have to act on this individual cell here in Arcadia for that tornado warned cell. Back west to the coast, though, there's the eye, and we're getting now this next band coming in and moving into Pinellas County, Pasco, and also getting toward the Skyway. This individual band is going to have to be watched for tornadoes as well as the eye continues to move north-northeast. So while the eye bypasses us, it's pushing these bands now inland, and we're now getting well into the sustained tropical storm force winds. So sustained meaning 39 miles per hour or greater. That's the consistent wind. Gusts have been up to 70 miles per hour. I feel, though, as this starts to move more northeast, we're going to start closing in on potential hurricane force gusts. Remember, we've had that in Port Manatee at 72 mile per hour wind gust at Port Manatee. That's the strongest one I've seen so far today. We could potentially see these 74 mile per hour wind gusts closing in on the Nature Coast here as the eye starts to get a little more close to the Nature Coast as it passes to our west. But here is where we're going to be the closest to the actual center of now Category 4 Hurricane Helene. So there's kind of an overview of where we're at. The storm system, thankfully, is moving pretty quickly. We've got a 23 mile per hour storm moving to the north-northeast up toward the Appalachia Bay. So the worst is about 60 miles to the east of the center. That 60-mile threshold is where the sustained hurricane force winds are. They only extend out about that far. So as we stop the radar, take a peek at where we're looking at those 60 mile per hour, or 60, let's see, right about there is 60 miles. So we've still got a good 25 to 30 mile buffer from our coastline to where those sustained hurricane force winds are, and that's going to move like this as well. So as the eye moves this way, this arrow is going to move this way as well. It's going to be about 25 miles off the coast of Citrus County to get those sustained force winds in there, which means it's going to be easier for us to start getting those hurricane force gusts over the next couple of hours. So deteriorating conditions from Tampa south with the surge. Well, I've told you about just a few minutes ago what the water levels are doing now. We're starting to see this eye move north, so your surge is going to pick up as we go to the Nature Coast over the next 6 hours. We are now at low tide, coming out of low tide. So all day today, after the high tide this morning, our tides have been working against the onshore wind. Well, now the tides are working with the onshore wind, and that's what's going to exacerbate the surge heights. Could potentially get 5 to 8 feet in Tampa Bay, 3 to 5 feet Anna Maria Island down through Sarasota and Lido Key down to Manasota Key and Inglewood. We are still looking at a surge potential of 8 to 12 feet here along the Nature Coast, and it could even exceed 10 feet for Citrus County, maybe even as high as 15 feet. Those are the, again, most reasonable worst case scenario from the National Hurricane Center. With what we're seeing right now and the storm surge flooding that we have already received, we are likely going to see these numbers at least getting to the minimum or the lower end of this. And I'm just now looking at Clearwater Beach. This morning at high tide, when we had a little bit of flooding at the coast, we were at 2.31 feet. Right now, Clearwater Beach is showing up at 4.34 feet. So we're already over 2 foot surge here happening in Clearwater Beach from the high tide that we had this morning. Remember, that was when the tide was working with the onshore wind. And there it is. We're seeing the overwash here on the street. So we're past all the beautiful beaches here and all that beautiful white sand. We're getting the waves that are overwashing these areas now. I also saw that the National Weather Service office got a report from an emergency manager in Fort Myers that Fort Myers Beach is completely inundated with water now. They have surged from the Gulf to the Bay in Fort Myers Beach. So they are seeing a surge of 3 to 5 feet down there right now. That is what is unfortunately heading our way up the coast as it's maximized now because Fort Myers Beach has a due west-southwest wind. That's all the water being pushed to the coast. Here in Tampa Bay, it's more southwest, but once it turns more west, that's what's going to surge us to see those 3 to 5 foot surges or 5 to 8 feet, depending on your location, and then continuing to be that way heading up to the north. One last check of the tornado warnings. Let me see if we've got anything new here to talk about for this one that's on County Line Road here, mainly now in eastern sections of Polk County. Southwest of Lakeland, we've got, it looks weaker on the radar now than it did a few minutes ago, so I feel better about that. That is for sure for those of you in Lakeland. Let me look and see if we have any debris showing up. I do not see any debris. Velocity scan's looking pretty good, so I'm not too concerned. Again, never discount a tornado warning until the National Weather Service cancels it. I don't want to downplay it, but from what I'm seeing on radar, I feel a little more comfortable than what I did when we first got that tornado warning. And then one last check here for those of you in Arcadia, same deal. Let me look at the scan here. It's opening up, it's broadening out. It's not as tight as it was packed. And like Dennis was talking about a few minutes ago with the hurricane, when the eye gets more wind around it, faster winds around the eye, it tends to contract. Tornadoes do the same thing. They tend to contract. When you see more broad rotation, that means it's not a strong indicator that we have a tornado in progress. Regardless, still tornado warning in both of these places, so we're going to watch it for you. Ladies, if I have any new information on these warnings, I'll come back and let you know about them, but at least right now I'm not seeing any reports or anything that's too concerning on the radar. We'll continue to see if these other bands that are still off in the Gulf, as they continue to move on shore, if they get warned, of course. We're here all night. We'll let you know.
All right, Jason, we know the moment it comes up, you'll take us through it. All right, this is a live look now from Sarasota. What we know is that they have said to avoid this area. This is Midnight Pass at Stickney Point Roads. They said that fast-moving waters overwashed the barrier islands onto the roadway. And Wendy, you could see a car just abandoned right there in the middle of it.
Yeah, and I can certainly relate to this because it's happened to me, and I've had to abandon my car and be pulled out of the window by Tampa police officers when I was stuck in South Tampa. So it's very scary. And as we've talked about, you know, turn around, don't drown, because once you get into these waters, you don't realize how steep they are until it's too late.
You got another car.
And yes, yeah, another car trying to get down, and oh, it's actually, well, it's a truck, so it's making a little bit more movement, but I still have to think it's also going to shut off, because once that water gets into the engine, good luck. Anyway,
our producer was saying that they saw the guy in this white car just abandon it, like get out of the car and just wade through the waters. Because if it's coming into your vehicle, you know, it can be, there's more cars trying to come down.
This isn't a tornado warning.
This is David Dutton in the Channel 1 Atlanta Command Center. Good evening to you at 7 o'clock. Continuing coverage of Hurricane Helene. Right now we have a new tornado warning in Georgia. This is for western Daltrey, northeastern Baker, and southeastern Calhoun counties in southwestern Georgia until 7 o'clock. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Newton, moving northwest at 30 miles per hour. Right now, you see on our live radar that we have the storm near Baconton and just the southwest of Albany there. It's moving away from the downtown Albany area toward the Larry area. So if you live in these areas between Baconton and Larry and north of Newton and southwest of Albany, you need to seek shelter now in the interior section of your home, away from windows, and do that immediately. We see a little spin up right here, and these will be little brief spin ups, usually during a tropical event. Brief, small spin ups. They can do a lot of damage, especially if they're going over your house. So just the northwest of Baconton, headed toward the Leary area, I would be seeking shelter right now in the basement or the center part of your house. This is a tornado warning in the Albany area of southwestern Georgia. Take shelter immediately. Our live severe weather coverage continues tonight as we go to station WANF, Atlanta News First in Atlanta.
as we head through the next few hours. So we definitely want to watch the roadways as we head through the next few hours. We're keeping that rain chance around through the evening. First alert weather day continuing overnight. The rain is actually going to get heavier as we head closer to the early morning hours. That's also when those winds will whip up. So just expect for it to continue to be a very dreary, wet evening. If you have plans to go to work, if you're running errands, it is just going to be a mess. If you can avoid getting out on the roadways, we've already seen slowdown in some places. That's going to be the best option. option. Heavier downpours will linger through the overnight hours, and the winds will be strongest after 2 a.m., but lingering through about 10 a.m. I'll break down when that center of the storm starts to lift through North Georgia coming up in just a few minutes.
And Hurricane Helene on the move tonight.
The worst of the wet weather is taking aim at our neighbors to our south in Florida, and that's where we find First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin. He joins us now from Perry. That's about 280 miles south of Atlanta. And Cutter, I know you're right in the path of where this storm is headed tonight.
Yeah. And it's becoming very, very obvious to those here. Conditions going downhill. You know, when we spoke at 3 p.m., beginning of our evening slot of newscasts, we had peaks of sunshine. It was barely even raining. Weather has gone downhill, especially the past 45 minutes. We have steady, at times heavy rain, and these occasional punches of wind. And that's the best way I know to describe it. Punches of wind. And we're starting to, much like you all in North Georgia, watch our trees. Looking across US 19, that's a Marathon gas station, and there's a live oak on the other side of that. And again, it's not moving all that much, but those things underestimate. When you look at a live oak, oftentimes it's blowing faster than what you think just because they're such sturdy trees, at least the top part, but those roots, easy to topple over, and we're getting one of those gusts coming in right now. And I think the first thing to go will be the tree branches, the tree limbs, palm fronds, and some of our live oaks, and then we're going to be watching for structural damage like that Marathon gas station. Guys, they just repaired that after Idalia a year and a month ago. That's the story replicated with so many local businesses just getting back on their feet, homeowners as well, and then they're dealt an even bigger blow going by the name Helene. Guys, it's going to get really bad here over the next few hours. We will be live as long as we can, streaming on Atlanta News First Plus as well. Reporting live in Perry, Cutter Martin, Atlanta News First.
Yeah, Cutter, I know we're all watching for your safety as well tonight, so please be careful. We are already seeing Helene's impact here in Atlanta tonight.
We certainly are. Trees and power lines falling before the worst of the storm hits Metro Atlanta. Atlanta News First reporter Patrick Quinn. He's live right now along Powers Ferry Road in Sandy Springs. Patrick?
Hey guys, and we just got here just about 5 minutes ago, and this is the scene here in Sandy Springs. Take a look at that tree down, and power crews, they're on scene right now, and it's going to be at least 2 more hours, both lanes in every direction shut down here in Sandy Springs. And this is something that I've been impressed by, surprised by, just to an extent, is how early we're starting to see some of the damage from this storm, right? The worst of it is still to come, but this is the second scene that we've now been to in the last hour or so where we're seeing the devastation from Helene and the storms that have already confronted Metro Atlanta. Earlier, we were in Buckhead. Take a look at some of these images. Power crews, they were on scene there at West Wesley. At least 3 trees, big trees, fell down, and power crews, they estimated that power would be restored by 6 o'clock, but from talking with neighbors in the area, that's a hard-hit area, and that's a common theme from talking with transportation officials and emergency officials is if you live in an area that is flood-prone already, expect it to have the highest risk of flooding, flash flooding, and that's what we're seeing. That area, Buckhead, that's a very high-risk area of flooding, and here in Sandy Springs, we're certainly seeing the effects already of this storm. Power crews, again, they hope to have both lanes open here in the next 2 hours or so. They are saying if you are on the roads, which they're not advising you to be on, seek alternate routes, and yes, that is the message tonight. If you don't have to drive tonight, if you do not have to be on the roads, do not, for as everyone is now telling you, here's one more voice, the worst is still to come. Live tonight from Sandy Springs, Patrick Quinn, Atlanta News First.
And Patrick, leaders in Gwinnett County are bracing for impact as well tonight. Atlanta News First Adam Murphy is live off Indian Trail Road in Lilburn tonight. And Adam, looks like the water is certainly building up on the roads there behind you.
Yeah, this is a trouble spot right here. Look how much water is already gathered. It's a little bit difficult to see too as it's much darker out right now, but when cars are coming through this section of Indian Trail Road near Indian Trail, Steve Reynolds Boulevard, and Tech Drive. Look at that. And the trouble of it is, like I said, you really can't tell that the water...
This is a tornado warning.
Be careful as we continue to see more rain. Now, earlier today, had an opportunity to meet with several Gwinnett County officials inside their emergency operations center. They told me they're worried that as we see more heavy rainfall throughout the evening from these outer bands from the hurricane, and then of course once the main part of the storm comes through the metro area, it'll be so much water in the roadways that it becomes a very serious problem where cars could actually get stuck in water and things like that. They said they're going to be monitoring all of these conditions throughout the evening, and really for the next 24 hours, it will be all hands on deck.
Every vehicle is fueled and equipment has been loaded for clearing and is ready to go. And so now we're just in that waiting phase, prepared and ready to respond.
And back out here live on Indian Trail Road at Tech Drive. Again, a very tough spot where you really can't tell from this vantage point that there is a collection of water. It's really several inches deep, and cars have been struggling going through this area. So really play it safe. If you have to get out and get a few things tonight or whatever, be sure to keep it slow. As you see these cars approaching, you'll get a good idea of what you're dealing with. Take a look at this right here. Cars coming through, a lot of water spraying, and it's beginning to pool up to pretty high levels too. That's it. We're going to continue to monitor areas like this, make sure that we let you know about them before you get out and about. If you can stay home, of course, everybody's saying that's the best thing to do. We're live off Indian Trail Road here in Gwinnett County. Adam Murphy, Atlanta News First.
And Adam, it's not just there in Gwinnett County. There are flooding concerns mounting west of the metro tonight. Atlanta News First reporter Joshua Skinner joining us from Athens. And Clark County officials there, they are bracing for the worst right now. Joshua.
Yes, exactly. Within the last 15 or 20 minutes, all of the Athens-Clark County emergency command team has arrived here at this building. Some are actually still getting out of their cars, but they're all arriving. Now, they're taking a little bit of a different approach than some of the others that we've talked with throughout the day. The command team is not allowing media in. They're not going to talk to the media. They actually sent all of their communications team home, told them to be with their families, stay safe. There's no need to talk to the media tonight. We can talk to them tomorrow after we get through all of this, is what they were telling me earlier. About an hour ago, we were seeing some of that severe rain, so much where you couldn't see 15, 20 feet in front of you. You can see some of that in the videos now, but now it's almost cleared up a little bit. It's just kind of a light rain. It's very calm right now, but a lot less traffic on the road. Some of the businesses across the street that were open have now all shuttered. Everyone is kind of moving out of this area, waiting for the worst of it to come in. We're expecting it, as you guys have mentioned multiple times, to come in probably sometime early in the morning to mid-morning. It's going to be an tropical storm. Winds is kind of what we're expecting here. So we've got a lot of potential for flooding, especially near UGA and near this area here as the Oconee River runs through it. So we'll be monitoring that throughout the evening. Reporting live in Athens, Joshua Skinner, Atlanta News First.
And we also know here tonight that state officials and local officials are so concerned about power outages. The risk is growing tonight.
Emergency crews ready to jump into action tonight as Helene inches closer to North Georgia. Atlanta News First reporter Madeline Montgomery joining us live from outside the Georgia Power Storm Center. And Madeline, we know they are extremely busy right now.
They are, and that's because of this rain we're seeing out here. They say because it's been raining for days, the ground is extremely saturated. That means it is far more likely for power lines to go down, trees to go down and knock those power lines down, and that means power outages for a whole lot of people. We had the chance to go inside of the storm center, and they were working hard to target where exactly they're expecting those electricity outages to occur, to make sure they had crews at the ready to go and assist in those situations once it was safe for them to get out there and repair those power lines. But they want to make sure that they can get power back on for people as soon as possible. But just for perspective, during Debbie, we saw 100,000 power outages across the state. This storm, way bigger than Debbie. In fact, they couldn't even give us an estimate for how many outages they're expecting to see.
We do experience hurricanes in this state. Often it's a regional impact, but this is going to impact everybody. And so I really hope that everybody watching is preparing their family to be able to go a few days without some power.
Georgia Power is encouraging everyone to go ahead and download their app so they can see where the outages are. And if they are out of power, they can see an estimate of when it'll be back on. Reporting live in downtown Atlanta, I'm Madeline Montgomery, Atlanta News First.
Here at Atlanta News First, we are staying ahead of the storm.
We are live all across North Georgia as Hurricane Helene bears down on Metro Atlanta.
This heavy rain is starting to swell rivers and streams. Now, we're going to take a live look at some of the flooding that's already taking place in Alpharetta.
First Alert Radar estimating some locations have already picked up upwards of 6 inches of rain. and we're not done yet. There is more rain on the way. I'll break down how much we're expecting coming up after the break.
Roll that video as he has been texting me, and I want to just give you here's what he just texted in the last hour or so. He told me, listen, the water is coming, it's coming up really fast. He said maybe a foot in the last hour or so. He tells me that his home, which was built in 1963, sits very high. They have traditionally been able to stay dry, and they need about another 3 more feet or more to start worrying. Well, I think he's probably starting to worry because, as he says, the tide has changed and it's now coming in. And the video that you're seeing on TV is video from his backyard, and that was from about 45 minutes to an hour or so ago. And we also know, just from monitoring X, I know the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office has already put out a post indicating that the water is now already starting to come over the seawalls here in Pinellas, in different parts of Pinellas County. And so that is the threat. It is very real. It is very raw. We know we did meet some people in this neighborhood who were making their way out of the neighborhood earlier this afternoon. We have, of course, also met people who were staying put because in this neighborhood, which is prone to flooding on a typical rainy day, they're sort of used to this kind of rinse and repeat pattern. But for some people, this one felt a little different. They already saw the water from the bay, from the surge earlier, cascading.
All right, that was our Katie LaGrone reporting. Obviously, lost her signal there, but it's getting dark, which makes everything so much scarier when the water is rising around you, and you just can't, when you can't see. And especially if the electricity goes out, which is going to be the case for a lot of our folks, power outages is terrifying when you don't know what's going on. So if it's happening to you or you feel like you might, please make sure that your phones are charged, your iPad, your computers. And then, of course, if you have a radio, we have 6 stations that we're simulcasting with. So just please be safe.
And it is scary when you think that high tide is coming at 11 o'clock tonight.
Right.
How that water is just going to keep rising in the dark. All right, let's head over to Adam Walzer. He is live on St. Pete Beach.
So, Adam, what's it like where you are? Looks like things are not good.
Well, we actually moved into downtown St. Pete to see what was going on here, and you can see those sheets of rain they were talking about. Well, they're here now, along with the wind. It's just really, really nasty out here, and it has been for the last few minutes. You can see the water just kind of pouring in from the bay. And one of the things we noticed when we were driving down here, we're over here right near the pier. It's all shut down. There are cops over there keeping people from going onto the pier. But one of the things we were noticing when we were driving over this way was this manhole cover came completely off of this manhole. Looks like some of the issues with some of the storm sewers here because they're being overworked here. That was one of the things that Mayor Ken Welch talked about yesterday, was making sure you did all your laundry, making sure you did all your dishes, and tried to limit the number of times that you used water today, because they knew that this would be a potential stressor here. And one of the things that we've seen here is that right now, in the last few minutes, a lot of people have gone away. There were people out here looking and walking around. This is one of the more populated downtowns in our area. Just thousands of people live in these condos and in this general area. And we did talk to some people earlier who were just out here trying to take a look around before they decided to head back to a safer place and a quieter place and certainly a drier place. And here's one of the folks that we talked to a little while ago. Tell me what's going on here in St. Petersburg tonight. What are you seeing?
A lot of wind, a lot of rain, lots of debris. Almost getting knocked.
This is a tornado warning.
Kind of level of water coming up?
Honestly.
This is David Etten in the command center. We have a new tornado warning in Georgia that is just coming in right now. This is for Daltrey, Baker, Calhoun, and Terrell counties in southwestern Georgia. This is in the Albany area until 7:45. A few moments ago, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was just to the southwest of Albany in the Newton area, and it's moving off to the northwest at 25 miles per hour. Again, a new tornado warning for Daltrey, Baker, Calhoun, and Terrell counties in southwestern Georgia until 7:45.
and we're seeing this heavy rain come down. Reporting live from downtown St. Petersburg, Adam Walser, ABC Action News.
All right, Adam, thank you. We're going to continue our Hurricane Helene coverage, and we head to Pinellas County.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get out to JJ Burton, who's been out in Dunedin. You are near San Jose Park. We see that the sun is setting there, but go ahead and tell us what you're seeing.
Hey, yeah, the sun is setting. You can also see, probably we walk a little closer, you can see that, you can't even see the seawall right now. We're here at this is the intercoastal, right basically the seawall. The water is at the same level as the mainland here, and you can see the water coming over. You can't even see straight across the clear water because of the clouded skies, and this is what Dennis has been talking about all day long. We want to show you the water here now moving into the street over this way,